Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Kavita from NSTIW Bangalore. Today's topic is about building bylaws, and it's going to be in two parts today and tomorrow, also, same timing in Zoom. So, I'll share the ID soon. Uh, let's start with the session. So, it's building bylaws. So what is building bylaws is what you will be learning, and what are the norms required, and what is the purpose of it. All that you will be studying in the building bylaws class. In part one, I've made it in two parts. So in part one, we will learn what is building bylaws, what is the purpose of building bylaws, different zones as per building bylaws, and the technical terms used in the building bylaws. So when I say technical terms, every detail has a certain technical terms that we use in the details. So building bylaws do have certain technical terms for it. So before entering into seeing what bylaws is, this is Indus Valley civilization. It's not in India right now, it's in Pakistan, but earlier where the Indus Valley civilization was developed around 2500 BCE, was something like this. The map was something like this. So if you see this, it is very clearly demarcated with a well-planned city. Actually, we can say Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So this is the era. So Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, you must have all studied in history, how it has been evolved, and you have more on a history basis, right? You must have also studied that it had a well-planned city, well-planned drainage system, even before the government was formed. The government and all happened after 1947. This is like 2000 years before Christ, right? So if you see the city, this is the city plan. So this is where the king people and all live, king and all the wealthy people live. And this was the main entry to the city. It had a gate, and if you see, the entire city was covered with high walls of compound, and it's clearly demarcated. So this is where the higher class were staying, and the kings and queens and the higher class people were staying. And if you see this portion, you can just zoom in your mobiles. So if you see this portion, this is where the stadium was, where people used to do horse racing or any other things. And if you see, the roads are very nicely demarcated. So there's a straight one road and a straight horizontal and a vertical road, which acts as the main passage to the entire city. And then you have divisions and clusters of houses. So here you can see a well planned city, right? So even before we knew what norms and all we have made, this was almost so many years ago. They had, though they had no proper education, they did plan their city very well. So this is what I have Harappa and Mohenjo-daro city planning looks like. So you can see here. So this portion is basically demarcated for market area, where they will come and sell all their whatever they do, the items like pottery, like food, everything. The marketplace was very nicely marked here. So this is what Harappa and Mohenjo-daro is. So bylaws was not prepared at this stage, but still we can see a well-planned city by the minister, whoever was there, who has designed the city very nicely. So coming to the city, this is the city in today's generation without bylaws. So this is, I think it's in Bombay, the slum, maybe Dharavi, I guess. So you can see how the planning is. You can see the rich people having high apartments, and you can see clusters of slum area and huts and half built houses, right? And there is no proper roads. We can't even see any roads over here, and there is no lanes over here, right? So everything is all cluttered. So this is how the city will be planned if you don't follow the bylaws. And if you follow the bylaws, this is how the city is going to look. So this is a city designed by architect Lee Corbusier. This is a Chandigarh city, where architect Lee Corbusier has designed the entire city actually very beautifully. So you can see the difference. you will have wider roads, you will have good ventilation over here, and you have a nice green area. Though the multi-level housings are there, you can see very nice spacings and housing done. Whereas this, it is all clustered. So this is what happens when you don't follow the bylaws. So this is just I'm showing an image how if you follow bylaws how it's going to be, and if you don't follow bylaws how it's going to be. So what is bylaws? So it's the rules set by the government authority to ensure uniform development and protect the building against internal and external hazards. So it will have a uniform development if you follow the norms. And you to give guidelines to the designer, architect, and the engineer. So what happens when a client comes to construct a house? He wants to construct a house. He comes to the architect or an engineer for a plan or for a construction. So how does the process start? The engineer designs, starts with bubble diagram, then he sketches designs, taking all the requirements from the client, and then makes a sketch and shows it to the client for approval. Once it's done, you will have to take sanction drawings. So in architectural drawings, I have told what is the procedure of drawings that to be done. So they have to take sanction drawing. How is a sanction drawing done? You will have certain norms that is designed by the government. So that is what is bylaws. You will follow certain rules and regulations in planning your design. Even before your design starts, you have to start with this bylaw first thing. Even before dotting your bubble diagram, you have to study the bylaws, and these bylaws will change according to the city. So when I say Bangalore, there will be a slightly different bylaws and norms. And when you say Delhi, there will be a slightly different norms. And if you take rural areas, there will be slightly different norms. So you have to follow the particular bylaw in their city. When you're planning a house in Bangalore, you can't go according to a Delhi bylaw norms. You have to go according to Bangalore bylaw norms only. So this bylaw will give an idea for the, it's like a guideline basically for the designer and architect to limit or to define the way the new structure is to be built. For example, you can ask me that I will construct my house without bylaws. How will the government know? Okay, when you're constructing, you definitely have to take permission for your electric meter, right? You can't rob your meter and take your electricity. You require a meter. How is the meter coming? You have to go to the development authority. So if it is a planned city, the development authority will definitely ask for your sanction drawing. Without sanction drawing, your electric meter will not be sanctioned. This is where the government keeps the hold of your construction. So even after your construction is over, to give the electric meter, the government has to come and visit the site if the house is designed as per the bylaws. Otherwise, they are not supposed to give. But today they are bribing and they are doing. But with that, there is going to be a lot of destructions, and there will be a lot of problems that will arise in later stages. Right now, they will not know, but in later stages, they will have a lot of problems if they don't follow the bylaws. So what will happen if you don't follow the bylaws? Irregular and narrow roads, because if you're not following the bylaws, you will take more space into the roads and the roads will become very narrow. With narrow roads, what will happen? It will become traffic. So when as the development is going on, if it is an old place, okay, no vehicles, very less vehicles are there, no traffic. After 10 years, I'm sure every city, every place is getting developed like anything. So in that case, you will have frequent traffic more and problem of parking, right? In today's generation, everybody owns a car. Almost like 60% of population owns a car, right? So with that, where will you park if you don't show parking in your site? So that comes as a problem. And health problems due to pollution. If the drainage system is not provided properly, if the government laws you have not followed, you have overtaken that drainage and you have built your construction, obviously water is going to get clogged and a lot of pollution will be there, a lot of diseases will start coming, right? dengue, fever, chikungunya, whatnot. If water is stagnant, definitely dengue and chikungunya is back. So health problems also will arise due to pollution. Also, when I said we'll learn about zones like industrial zone and all, so you can't allow a factory to be constructed in a residential area. So that also will create pollution. So recently, a very good example is the gas leak that happened in Vizag, right? So what happened? Uh, Normally, where these kind of hazardous buildings, they will say you should provide it around 5 kilometers. Nothing should be there if it is a really hazardous industry. But if you see the Vijayawada where this gas leak happened, LG gas leak happened, within 2 kilometers only lot of housings, lot of small village were there. And you must have seen in the news how much people got affected. Even though they didn't work there, they got affected by that gas leak, right? So who's going to take that? Your health is, though the government is going to pay you money, but your health is under stake. So we don't even know how much, is it a long term health hazard or is it a short term. So all this will come if you don't follow the bylaws. Poor light and ventilation. So in your house, obviously light and ventilation acts very important point, because when you're getting up, if you don't have enough light, you will not feel fresh. And also ventilation, you have to breathe fresh. So these things, if you don't follow bylaws, you will have a poor ventilation and poor light. Then no proper planning of gardens, playgrounds, etc. So when I say playgrounds, these days kids cannot play on the roads. They require a separate park. So every developed place will have a public park for sure. So if you don't follow the bylaws, obviously this public park you're going to encroach, pay the money and build a house. But what about the kids who wants to play? They're not going to get the outdoor space at all. Then problems regarding services like water supply, drainage, telephone, gas, electricity. So when I say water supply, when there is a heavy flood, you saw recently in Chennai, maybe 2 years back, how the flood disturbed the entire city, how floors and floors of water were filled because the proper drainage was not, though the drainage was designed, it was clogged. They haven't cleared. So with that, what happens? It is going to again disturb the service. And telephone, gas. So telephone, when I say the wires, it's going to hang in front of your houses if you don't plan it properly. So in developed city, already that planning would have done. So, and gas obviously these days you're getting the no cylinder gases, right? The direct gas pipes are coming. So if it is a planned space, you don't have to keep a cylinder separately. You can directly get the gas pipe and you just have to fit a meter and your gas is going to be there. And electricity, of course, I told earlier only, to take the permission you require a proper sanction drawing for it. So all these will get disturbed if you don't follow the bylaws. Then noise nuisance in education, hospital and court. So if you're going to have schools and colleges, schools, hospitals and courts in the main road, obviously you're going to have a lot of noise. So all these zoning comes where you have to provide your education, buildings and hospitals. It shouldn't be provided in the main roads where a lot of traffic is there. So that is going to obstruct the noise inside the building. So these are very basic things that will disturb. There are other factors also which if you don't follow bylaws, buildings can collapse, right? And also if you don't follow in bylaws, they say rainwater harvesting is compulsory. So if you don't have rainwater harvesting, maybe your water, the groundwater is going to evaporate and you will not have enough groundwater. Often you have to get water from the lorries or you have to pay a lot of money for the water. So that is going to happen if you don't follow the bylaws properly. So next is, what is the purpose of the bylaw? So why bylaw should be given? One is, if you don't follow bylaws, I told you what all will happen. The other thing is, what is the main purpose of the bylaws? So it will provide suitable area for selected activities. As I said, for garden, it should be separately. For a playground, it should have be separately. Like as I showed in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, marketplace was separate and the sports complex was separate. The zonings they had done very nicely. So these will happen if you provide proper bylaws, and it will avoid it will avoid problem of traffic. The very simple of bylaws is like following your traffic rules. If you're following your traffic rule, the vehicle movement will be very smooth. So even if it is 2 minutes, you know, after 2 minutes, your vehicle is going to move. But if there is no signal and if you don't follow signal, what will happen? Accidents can happen, right? Or you might get caught by a policeman, right? So these problems will happen in the buildings also. I'm not saying you will be caught by the policeman, but later. So a lot of buildings have encroached the places, right? So you must have seen a lot of buildings being cut. They have demolished the buildings. So all these will take place in future where expansion of roads is coming. Now a lot of metro work is coming. Those days they have constructed, they have encroached the land. So now when they go to take the measurements there, they will say your site is only this much, you have constructed this much. I will not pay, I have to demolish this. So these things you can avoid in future. So you have to follow your bylaws when you're designing. As an architect, it's your duty to tell your client that bylaws has to be followed properly. Then develop town in a systematic manner. As I showed Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, like that you can develop that city in a systematic manner. I showed you Chandigarh city also. So you can develop that city in a very nice way. Then provide safety against diseases. So how safety against diseases? Like providing the buildings in proper places and having proper drainage. All that will help you in provide safety against diseases. Provide well lighted and ventilated house. Nice lighting will be there if you follow bylaws, and nice air movement will be there. You don't require AC sometimes, or you can reduce the amount of electricity that you use on ACs. So all these can be achieved. Then assure basic service like water supply, drainage, electricity, gas, telephone lines, etc. So all these services can be very coolly achieved when you follow the bylaws. So who prepares the bylaws? The particular government authority of the particular city will prepare the bylaws. Then they will take sanction from the government. Then they will get approval, and that will be released as a book. So your bylaws book will be there. So which every architect will be having this bylaws book. And when you're designing the site, you have to follow the bylaws very promptly, because if you miss it, again it's going to create problem later. So the government authority prepares the bylaws. Next, what are the characteristics of bylaws? So what all rules are there? What all specific things are there that bylaws is required? We'll see. So the rules must be specific, clear, and the language of rule should be grammatically correct. So this is very, very important when the government is writing a bylaw, because for very small example is, if I say, if they write that car parking should be provided for a residence, right? But that is not specific. You can have an acre of a house, an acre land, big house in like a farmhouse, or you can have a small house where 50, 30, 40. So now when I say just car parking, it is not specific, whether it is 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars. It is not specific. So according to the site, if it is say 60-40, 1 car park must be provided compulsorily. That should be very specific. If it is more than so many square meter of area, so many car parking should be there. Say for example, if it's a hospital of 100 people, this many car parking should be there. So that number should be very specific and clear. So whatever rules they are giving, it should be very specific. Otherwise, you can still fight in the court saying just car parking is given, right? So in that way, the rules must be very specific when they are preparing the bylaws. Terms used should be defined clearly so that there must be only one meaning of the term. As I said, since the rules also should be specific and the terms also should be very specific. And due to some special conditions and requirements, some bylaws differ from the bylaws of other place. So what are the special conditions? It can be the geological conditions, like say black cotton soil, or it can be the contours that is there. Like in Shimla, if you see, the slopes are very much, right? It is like steep like this in Shimla. Uh, so um, so when you're building a house there, your road itself will be the terrace level. If you have been to Shimla or any hill station places, the road itself will be your terrace level and the houses will be below. So in that case, again, the bylaws is going to change. And if you go for, say, resort and all, where the seashore is there again, the bylaws change. If it is a residential area in a very hot space, again the bylaws will change. If it is a urban space, the bylaws will change, and if it's a rural space, the bylaws will be little lenient because of the provision that is given by the government. So the terms, even though if it is in the same city also, by zones the bylaws can change. So even though in a single town, bylaw of single town is not applicable at the other area. As I said, Chennai bylaw cannot be applicable in uh, Kerala or Karnataka or anywhere. Even Bangalore bylaws of particular zone only will be suitable for only that particular zone. It can't be suitable for rural area or urban area. So again, when I'll tell you about zones also, how it is divided. So every particular zone also will have different bylaws, or it will be slight changes, but you have to follow that properly, because as I said, the rule should be specific. So according to zones also, these rules will be very specific. It can be modified by government if required. So these bylaws, on and off, it will be getting revised because the city keeps growing, right? So the Bangalore city earlier was just 10 kilometers radius. Today it's around 20 kilometers radius, right? So at every movement, city keeps developing, and it requires a change. So in the, and the population also has increased. Bangalore never had this. It was never meant for so much of population. It was never designed for so much population. Today, if you see, so many BDA sites are developed outskirts of Bangalore. So all these will keep changing as and when the city gets developed. So zones, coming to zones. So what is zone? Town or city is divided in different areas. When I say Bangalore, it will be divided into different areas. So location of a zone depends upon the suitability for specific activity. So how do they divide the zones? According to the activities. Where you want your IT hub, where you want your market space, where you want your movie halls or your space like that. So all, or where you want your residential zones, right? You have posh area, like if you see Ramaya behind and all, it's a very posh area. Indranagar, if you see, it's a zone where it is very posh, right? So like that, different zones are divided according to the location. Then local authority decides number and types of zone considering the necessity of the town. As I said, as the city develops, according to the necessity, the number of zones can be keep changing or getting modified. It won't change, but it will get slightly modified. If you see, if I say IT zone, the first thing comes to you in Bangalore is, one is Whitefield, Electronic City, and Sarjapur Road. These three places, major of the IT hub is there. So very easily these zones can be demarcated. So they will not provide hospitals or major hospitals actually. Small clinics can happen, but major hospitals will not be provided near these IT hubs because of the traffic, right? In peak hour traffic, a lot of vehicles will be moving. So if there is an ambulance, it will become very difficult for the ambulance to move. So a school or a hospital, big hospital, shouldn't be located at these kind of hubs. And even marketplace, there you cannot give schools or colleges because a lot of noise is going to be there. So these zones will be very well, it should be designed very properly, so that there won't be any disturbance of movement of any vehicles, or there won't be any nuisance of any sound. So I'll show you a few zones. So first one is residential zone. So residential zone, everybody knows. So here residential buildings will be allowed. Gardens will be allowed, playgrounds will be allowed, but not stadiums, playgrounds for kids to be playing. Playgrounds will be allowed. Schools and offices are allowed, small schools. Okay, so small schools and offices, small offices are allowed here. But industries, hospitals, wholesale markets are not allowed. So when it comes to residential area, industries, hospitals, wholesale markets are not allowed. Second zone is commercial zone, cinema, retail shops, town halls, restaurants, banks, offices, shopping centers are allowed. Now, what is the commercial area? So you have seen in Bangalore, right? Where all commercial areas are there? One is Commercial Street, MG Road, Brigade Road, right? And Malleshwaram, that main circle. So all these are for commercial areas where residents are very less. It will be behind, backspace of it. But the main road will have lot of commercial. It is totally marked for commercial spaces. And here hospitals and industries should not be allowed. If we find hospitals and industries, that means they have violated the rules and they have constructed. And if the government starts taking strict actions, they should shift their space from that. They should sell it and they should shift their space from that and move to a zone where hospitals and industries are allowed. Only then we will have a smooth moving process of flow or traffic. Everything will be there. Next, industrial, ordinary. So in industries, there are two kinds. One is the ordinary industry and the other one is hazardous industry. So the ordinary industries are light industries where chemicals are not used, where like gas leak and all happens. Mishaps definitely happen in almost every building, every industries. So ordinary industry should not have any chemical releasing uh, or any chemical releasing works. So it should be light industries. It can be like biscuit factories or some snack factories or any light pottery making factories, clay factories. So those things can be there. Workshops, printing presses, and small factories can be allowed where chemicals are not exposed to the air or the water. So how is the chemical exposed? Either they let it to the air or they let it in the water. So these both shouldn't be there. So if you see in Domblur area of Bangalore, there is a factory which releases lot of soaps into the water. The entire Bellandur lake has been polluted. The government is still trying to take action on it. So with that pollution, what happens? The entire lake is got polluted, right? So these things will happen when you have a residential area and industry also provided there. So here in industry, ordinary industry, heavy, obnoxious and hazardous industries are not allowed. So you cannot have a chemical industry just because it is named industry ordinary. So as I said, it has to be specific. Now, if I say industry, it is not specific. But if I say industrial, ordinary, and if I mention these things, then it is very clear. So now when I come to hazardous industries, here all type of industries are allowed. Even ordinary industries are also allowed. So when they say all type, any industry can be allowed there. And residential buildings are not allowed. As I said, the gas leak that happened in Vizag, they have allowed the residential. The residential people have encroached the land and they have built their houses. And today they are facing a lot of problems because of it. You have seen ladies falling, fainting, kids fainting on the road, bikes, people have fallen in the gutter. They don't even know what had happened. So all this will happen when you have hazardous industry and then you have your residential building in that area. So try to avoid buying your own plots in an hazardous industrial area. Please don't buy because all these can happen in later stages. Next, coming to educational, schools, colleges, sports complex allowed. Other than educational activities are not allowed. So apart from educational activity, none other, neither residential nor hazardous nor industrial will be allowed in these zones. So these are different zones that the city will divide and it will demarcate certain areas in that city. So according to that, people who want to construct the residence will buy only in the residential area. So this is about zoning. So the next is, let's see some key terms of the building bylaws. Key terms are your technical terms. So the first technical term is your balcony. Balcony everybody knows. So every house must have a balcony in these days. So it's a horizontal projection, cantilevered. So what is cantilever? Apart from your wall, whatever roof you are getting outside, that is cantilever. So you won't have a vertical support for this. So that is cantilevered, or otherwise including a parapet, handrail, balustrade to serve as a passage or sit out place. So this is like a sit out place so that you can sit. But today's apartment which has balcony is being used for drying clothes, keeping washing machine. It's like a storeroom actually. So actually balcony is meant for sit out. But today, due to space constraint and all, we are using it like a proper storeroom itself. Next is basement or cellar. So it is the lower story of a building or partly below the ground. So basement or cellar. So in exam, it can also come like this. What is the other term used for basement? So or other term used for cellar. So basement and cellar both are same. So it is the portion which is below the ground. So this is the ground level in the second. It is partly below. It cannot be, it shouldn't be completely below. It should always be partly below so that you can have ventilation over here. Okay, you can see here, right? So you can have ventilation here because even basement requires ventilation. And if there is, the drainage has to go out, you have to drain it out. So you require some space in the ground also, and the plinth will be slightly higher than the regular one if you have a basement. So basement, what all you can use? You can't use for your living purpose. You can use for your parking. You can use as a store. You can use as a, these days people are using like an office also, but you're not supposed to use it like an office because a lot of water, if rain is, sudden rain is there, it's going to come inside. So all that will happen. So you can use like a space where for your parking and store, you can mostly use it. Next is building line. So what is building line? After your plot line, so this is your site. So after your site, after the setback, whatever building starts, from wherever the building starts, that is your building line. So this is the main road. After that, you will give some setbacks in the front, side, back, everywhere. So from the front line, wherever the building starts, that is your building line. So the line up to which the plinth of the building adjoining a street or an extension of a street or future street may lawfully extend and includes the line prescribed, if any, in any scheme or development plan. So the building frontage here, whichever line what you see, this is the building line. So after setback or from wherever your building starts, that is your building line. Next, courtyard. So courtyard, everybody knows what is courtyard. Even in my earlier classes, I've told about courtyard. So it's a space permanently open to sky. Most of the time you'll have a open to sky. You won't have a roof there. So this can be a part of your interior space also. So with plants and everything, you can have allow rain to come inside. You can have a nice natural feeling there. So this will act like a courtyard. Especially these kind of courtyards were given in very olden days houses. So as soon as you enter into a courtyard. You will wash your legs and all in the courtyard and then enter the house, right? So today we are not doing that. But still courtyard is a nice form which gives a nice feeling. You can have nice coconut tree growing also. So and plants, everything, or you can have it hard space also. You don't have to have grass compulsory. You can have like this hard space also with plants. That also will work as a courtyard, but it will be open to sky. You won't have a roof on the top. Next is mezzanine floor. So it's an intermediate floor between the floor and the ceiling of a story. So this is a factory. So it's an intermediate. So in between the floor, whatever you're giving, that is mezzanine. So it doesn't have a complete roof or wall. It will be open here. So if you close, then it becomes a room. If you keep it open, it is a mezzanine. So mostly in factories where you have big machineries and you want some space for your office also, there they will construct this mezzanine. Also in residence where kids want to have a different space for studying, right? They can't, kids mind is very diverting, so they require different spaces to sit and study. So where you have, when the client is having a lot of money, lot of space, they can construct a small mezzanine floor so that that space is demarcated for their study, it won't be getting disturbed. So there also you can use as mezzanine, but mostly it is used in factories where they want like an office space, there they are using mezzanine floor. So it's not a next floor, it is the floor in between the same floor. So we have certain bylaws here. If you want to give mezzanine, minimum height of mezzanine floor shall be 2.2 meters. The minimum size of the mezzanine floor, if it is to be used as a living room, shall not be less than 9.5 square meter. So what is 9.5 square meter? It is the area. So if I say this, minimum 2.54 should be their width. The rest can be around say 3 or 4, like that. So length into breadth, if you multiply, it has to come to 9.5. But the minimum width should be 2.4, because less than that, it won't be good as a room. The aggregate area of such mezzanine floor in a building shall in no case exceed 1/3 of the plinth area. So if I say this area, it should be less than 1/3. So if you divide this into 3 parts, the 1/3 can be used. You can't make the entire room as a mezzanine floor. You can just make the 1/3 space as a mezzanine floor. So that is the bylaws. Next, multi-level parking. Everybody must have gone to malls which has 2 or 3 basements, or it has upper floors also. In Jayanagar, if you see, it is all upper floors. Or even if you see any other malls, it will be mostly in the basement, because you don't require a ramp, too many ramps to go in. So, and space height of the building also can be controlled. So mostly it is basement. Where basement is not advisable, or where water log is more, there they will go for upper floors like this, where you can park. So these are automatic car parks. We'll study in other classes how automatic car parking works, where you just leave the car here and it will automatically take it up through hydraulic. So this is multi-level car park. So this portion is very important. So what is carpet area, what is built up area, and what is super built up area? This is very important when it comes to calculation of area in bylaws. So you have to be very particular when you are taking these areas, because this will be cross-checked by the authority when they are sanctioning your sanction drawing. So what is carpet area? Carpet area is the usable space of the floor. Walls will not be calculated. So if you see here, the green portion, the walls is not calculated. So if I say you have a clear 3 meter by 3 meter room, only that usable area will be calculated as carpet area. Corridor will not be calculated. Lift and staircase will not be calculated in the carpet area. This is merely the usable area that is there. No walls will be added. What is built up area? Here the carpet area plus the walls. Built up area, walls will be added. In carpet area, only the floor area will be added. In built up area, you will add the walls also, but you will still not add corridor, lift and staircase. What is super built up area? Here you will add everything that is built, outer to outer, whatever this, you will take the entire, you will draw, if you're doing in CAD, you will draw a PL and take the complete area. Or if you're doing separately, you will make separate rectangles, calculate the area separately and add all. So here corridor, lift, staircase, everything is included. Walls, everything is included for your super built up area. So what is carpet area? It is the only floor area of the space. Like bedroom, if you have inner wall of the inner wall, whatever area you're getting, that is your carpet area. Built up area is with the wall, but corridor, lift and staircase is not added. Even in carpet area, corridor, lift and staircase is not added. But when it comes to super built up area, everything is added. This you can take screenshots also from your mobile. This is very important, or you will get in your Google also. If you just type in Google, you will get these kind of pictures. So this is very important when you are calculating areas for your sanction drawing. Next is your setback. Setback is when you start building your building, the government will have, according to the site size, how much front you have to leave empty, how much side you have to leave empty, and how much rear side and both sides you have to leave empty. So these space will not be constructed. You cannot construct any building, or you cannot take any wall outside this setback. So this is your setback. So front setback, side setback and rear setback. The government will have certain length of setbacks, like say for example, if it is a 9-meter wide road, you will have side setback of 1 meter. If it is more than 9 to 12, it will be little bit more. If the site, as the site sizes increases, the setbacks also will increase. So that is setback. And giving setback is very important, because when you're giving ventilation, you can give in this space. So you don't have to wait for the other person to give setbacks. So if you give your own setbacks, you can give nice ventilation wherever you want. So all 4 sides you will get nice ventilation for your building. As I said, the purpose of the bylaws is to provide good light and ventilation. So providing the setbacks will help you design a better ventilated space. So what is the advantage of setback? Availability of sufficient light and ventilation, availability of land for widening of roads in future. Yes, when metro is coming, say even if they want to take your own space, they're going to pay you also. Say 2 or 3 meters if they take, your building is not going to disturb in future when the roads are getting widened. So in that ways also it will help. Availability of sufficient side distance at road crossing. If your building starts here, from the road if you're coming, this space will be empty. So when you want to take a turn also, you know enough space is there. If this building is right at the end, you will not even know whether there is a turning on the left side or the turning on the right side. So setbacks will help you give a clear vision. Availability of space for parking. Now in this setback, you can park your car, you can park your bikes, right? If you don't give setbacks, you will park on the roads. So obviously to avoid that, the setback will also help you to provide parking for your vehicles. Availability of necessary privacy. You can raise your compound wall here so that you get nice privacy. Then reduction of unwanted noise. You can reduce the amount of noise from the vehicles. You can have high compound wall or lot of front trees you can put, so that noise also can be reduced. Next is ground coverage. So this is again another important thing when you're calculating area. So one is the government sets the setback, that minimum setback has to be given like this. And the other one is ground coverage, how much you can cover in the ground area. After leaving setback, whatever area is coming, if the government says only 30% you can cover, but after setback you're getting around 40%, you have to reduce, you have to increase the side setback more or front setback more, so that you get only 30% usable area. Because either vice versa, whichever is more, you have to take that. If they say, if after leaving setback, if the ground coverage is 30 but you are getting a ground coverage of 20%, then you can't take in the setback. You have to still take minimum of ground coverage only. So I'll tell you in detail when we are calculating the areas, so that you will understand it more. And this is another important thing, floor space index or FAR. So what is FAR? It's the floor area ratio. So FAR is equal to, so what is this ratio? How many floors can you construct, or how much you can build your building. So FAR, these numbers will be very specific. So as I said, this is 1.2, 1.2. So what is FAR? It is the total covered area of all floors. So what is covered area? It is the built up area. Covered area or built up area is same. So it is the total built up area of all floors divided by plot area. So what is plot area? If I say this, so sorry, I'll take this. So plot area is, if this is the outer line length to outer line width, this is your plot area. And what is built up area? How many after setback, how much ever you're covering the building and how many floors you're going, that is your built up area. So you cannot construct how many ever floors you want. Though you are giving setbacks, it doesn't give you a right to construct how many ever floors you want. You can construct only to certain amount of height. So that is when it comes to FAR. So residential, they have 1.2. That means if your plot area is around 1000 square meter, you can construct a built up area of around 1200 square feet. And for commercial, it will be more, because here you don't require lot of cross ventilation, because a lot of windows will be closed. Only the main entrance will be opened. And since it is commercial, you can have more floors. So that's why in commercial area, the permissible FAR will be more. And industrial will be less, because it requires lot of open space. So a simple calculation of area. So if FAR is 0.5, this is 0.5 FAR. This is your land. If it is 0.5 means 50% you can construct. So if you have 1000 square feet, you can construct up to one floor of 500 square feet, or you can construct two floors of 250 square feet in each floor. So this way you can divide the way you want. But maximum you can go only, if it is 0.5, you can construct only 500 square feet for 1000 square feet plot. If you want 2 stories, then ground floor 250, top floor 250. You can even increase the ground floor and reduce the first floor, but addition of both should come to 500 only. If it is 1 FAR, I showed you here, right? FAR as 1, the entire plot you can construct. But having said this, you cannot construct because of setbacks that you have to give. If you want 2 stories, 50-50 you can go. If you want 4 stories, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4 you can go. Similarly goes to 2. If FAR is 2, you can construct 2 stories of full length, or 4 stories of half length, or 8 stories of quarter length. So this is how apartments and all built. They give lot of open spaces and they increase their height of the building. So the more amount of open space, the angle of the sun also will change. But if I give here only, then the road will get closed. So this FAR has to be followed very perfectly when you're calculating your sanction drawing. So we have reached to the last stage. So how do we calculate the FAR? So let's assume a site of 50 meter by 100 meter. So the site size is 50 meter by 100 meter. The ground floor area is 40 meter by 60 meter. That means the setback, after leaving setback, 5 meters they have left on both sides. 50 they have converted to 40 means 5 meter on left, 5 meter on right. And if it is 100, they have converted to 60. 20 meters front, 20 meters back, or 30 meters front or 10 meters back, depending on the bylaws again. So ground, whatever you can build is 40 meter by 60 meter. Second floor again 40, sorry, first floor also they are taking 40 meters. So here we can see 1, 2, 3 floors. Ground floor and first floor they have taken 40 by 60. And second floor they have taken 40 by 30. So how do you calculate the FAR? What is the site area? This is the plot area, 50 by 100, which is 5000 square meter. So they have written separately. This is how you have to write your area statement when it comes to your sanction drawing. Ground floor area 60 meter into 40 meter, you will get to. So this is built up area, not the site area. So this is the site area. This is ground floor built up area. You have to write built up area itself. 60 meter by 40 meter, you get 2400. First floor also you are taking the same size. It's coming to 2400. Second floor, you're taking only half, 40 by 30, which is 1200 square meter. Net floor, that means addition of all is coming to 6000. So FAR is equal to net floor areas on all floor, that is 6000 square meter, divided by the site area 5000, which will come to 1.2 FAR. So how much they have given here? 1.2. So if you have a site size of this, you can maximum construct 1, 2 and half. So you can only construct 2.5 floors. You cannot take 3 floors. That means your FAR will go more, right? So this is how you calculate your FAR. So this calculation is very important because it will be very much written in your sanction drawing, and this is what they see a lot. They will measure your plan with all dimensions, and then they will check the areas also. So you have to be very particular when you're calculating these areas and creating your FAR. So you have to give sufficient setbacks according to the bylaws, and you have to build only according to the number of floors that comes when it comes to FAR. So the floor area ratio determines the height of the building. Why this is very important? Because when the next neighbor house is coming, he might not have enough money to build 2.5 floors. He might build just 1 floor. But if you build 10 floors, just because you have money, the other person will not get ventilation at all throughout the day, right? So in that case, to avoid that, the government has fixed these kind of things. If he wants 3 floors, then he has to give more space in the setback. Then he can go for more floors. Instead of 40, 60, he can take 40, 30 only, as another 2 floors he can increase. Then what happens? The setback will be more. In that case, the sunlight will come more. Though he has more height, the sunlight will be more, even if the number of floors goes high. So that is how you will calculate the FAR. So this is for today. So I'll just reverse. We saw all the we saw what is bylaws, what is the purpose of bylaws, then what is the characteristics of bylaws, what are the different zones we saw, then we saw what are the technical terms that is used, and we have done area statement. So this you can take examples of some site dimensions, and you can start calculating this area so that you will be little bit well versed when it comes to the calculation. So I'll end this today for today's class, and the rest we will there are certain rules that needs to be followed for bylaws apart from the setbacks, that we will discuss in the next class. So anybody has any doubts, you can just put in the chat. Nobody has any doubt? Sedu Bhaskar has raised hand. Yeah, yeah, Sedu Bhaskar, you can answer.
Yeah, ma'am, the FIR is for government rules, ma'am?
Yes, it is for the government rules. When you're making the sanction drawing,
Okay.
how much floor you can go for your building height, FAR will tell you what height you can go. So as I said, for commercial building, the heights will be little more because you don't require.
This for
yeah.
Personal use, the same FIR is calculated, no?
Every area, for even for your personal use, according to area, bylaws will be there in the bylaws book. So if you take the particular city bylaws, you will get what
commercial and personal. What are the difference, no?
See, personal is your residential building where you require lot of ventilation. Yes. Commercial, you don't require ventilation. You require more floors, more office space is required. So that is the difference. Where lot of shops will be there. So that is your commercial space.
Okay. And can you send the file, ma'am?
You can drop your mail ID. I will send the file.
Yeah, can you send?
Yeah, you drop me your mail ID. You can put it in the chat. You can just put your mail ID in the chat. Okay. Student Ma'am, if you go through with some building bylaws, so it will be good for us to understand. Definitely, Sharanya, tomorrow we'll go through the building bylaws. I'll tell you a few building bylaws because today we just require, I could just take only the technical terms. So tomorrow we will be going through the building bylaws. So you will understand bit better more. Setback line पे compound wall बना सकते हैं क्या? Yeah, you can definitely put your compound wall because that is compound wall is part of your site, right? So your setbacks will be included from the outer wall of the compound wall. So compound wall can come within the setback.